Hello horror movie lovers, I'm Trenton and I love movies just like you, obviously. So I just watched Totally Killer because I totally love Kiernan Shipka, Olivia Holt, and Liana Liberato. My expectations were pretty high. Every time a slasher is released, I'm excited for it, especially if it's an original IP and not part of a franchise. Slashers, favorite subgenre of horror, yeah. But did the movie meet my expectations? Yeah, I actually really liked and enjoyed this movie.
So everyone's entitled to one good scare.
35 years after the shocking murders of 3 teens, an infamous killer returns on Halloween night to claim a 4th victim. When 17-year-old Jamie comes face to face with the masked maniac, she accidentally time travels back to 1987. Forced to navigate the unfamiliar culture, Jamie teams up with her teenage mother to take down the psycho once and for all. The first half of this video will be spoiler free, then the last half will contain spoilers. Don't worry, I will give you a warning before we enter spoiler territory. Now, there actually is a lot of characters in this movie, but I'm just going to go over the ones that were most important to progress the story overall. And honestly, the younger counterparts of the parents in the movie are the most important characters. So I'm mainly just going to talk about them. Young Lauren was sweet, like such a harmless nerd, but her being nerdy was her whole personality, and I kind of wanted to see another side of her character or see some sort of character progression like the other characters, but overall I still liked her character. Young Pam was so funny. The shit she'd say would be so out of pocket, but so damn funny. She literally had me dying and laughing out loud. Like, her humor landed almost every single time. Honestly, she's my favorite character in the movie. Jamie, Pam's daughter and our main character, is pretty generic, but I still loved her character. She's very much your stereotypical edgy teenage girl at the beginning, and character development by the time the movie's over. The story is pretty unique for the most part. I was honestly surprised that this wasn't a Christopher Landon movie, the creator of Happy Death Day and Freaky. Get with the program. I'll get more into that when I talk about the movie tonally, but the story itself was unique in the sense that it's a slash movie that just so happens to involve time travel. The writing wasn't really the best at times, specifically when it came to the whodunit slasher element. I personally thought it was very much underwhelming and predictable for the most part, as well as when it came to some stupid decisions some of the characters make, but I'm not gonna hold them to that because 80s slasher. And there are some very predictable themes and lines in the movie. I'm not going to say that that's a negative or anything, but it was a little cliche at times, but overall the writing when it came to pretty much everything else was great. The cinematography wasn't anything inherently special. It was fine, nothing particularly unique or stylish as a whole. The movie looks good visually, but I was honestly surprised how muted the 80s vibes were. I was thinking it would be more along the lines of The Final Girls, where it's very vibrant and saturated, but it wasn't, which I don't consider a negative or anything. I was just kind of surprised. But there is one specific set piece towards the end of the movie that I thought was so freaking cool, and the camera work in that particular sequence was really fun. The effects were mostly practical, mainly when it came to the kills themselves, but there is some questionable VFX moments, especially in the third act, but they honestly didn't really take me out of the movie, so I'm not going to dwindle on that for too long. Tonally, the movie is very lighthearted. That's why I made the Christopher Landon comment. With both Happy Death Day and Freaky, the comedic elements are front and center, while the horror elements are kind of on the back burner. The same could be said about this movie. Oh yeah, and the fact that all 3 movies are inspired by cult classic family movies but turn them into horror comedies. That's it. The pacing is pretty good. The movie is around an hour, 40 minutes, and I feel like the rate at which everything happens was pretty quick. It went by real fast for me. The life lesson that I learned after watching Totally Killer was that you should never judge a book by its cover. Overall, I really enjoyed this movie. It was fun, cute, and lighthearted. I could definitely see myself watching it again in the near future. I'm gonna give Totally Killer an 8 out of 10. We are now entering spoiler territory. If you haven't seen Totally Killer, watch it, then come back to the video, or if you simply don't care about spoilers, keep on watching. In this portion of the video, I break down the movie, go more in depth with my likes and dislikes, as well as my favorite scene, least favorite scene, favorite kill, and least favorite kill. Again, we are now entering spoiler territory. The movie starts off with documentary footage reporting on 3 teenage girls named Tiffany Clark, Marissa Song, and Heather Hernandez, who were respectively killed in the small town of Vernon by the Sweet 16 killer, each having been stabbed 16 times on the night of their 16th birthdays, October 27th, October 29th, and October 31st in 1987. In the present day, teenager Jamie Hughes goes to a concert with her friend Amelia on Halloween night while her mother, Pam, stays home. Pam used to be friends with the 3 victims of the Sweet 16 killer. While handing out candy, she is attacked by the killer, who stabs her to death. This whole opening scene was so good. Like, Pam was so final girl coded, like she was whooping that killer's ass, but the fact that she still got killed was soul crushing for me. Seriously, like I just I don't even know. As Pammy Green, what the As Jamie grieves Pam's death, she helps Amelia put the finishing touches on a time machine she created for a school project and is approached by reporter Chris Dubasage, who tells her that Pam received a note from the killer that she kept secret. You're next. One day. That night, Jamie is chased by the killer and hides in the time machine, which activates and sends her back to the year 1987, the year that the 3 girls were murdered. She realizes that if she stops the Sweet 16 killer's original spree, she can save Pam's life. Jamie, masquerading as an exchange student from Canada, discovers that Pam and her friends were despised by everyone in the town as they were bullies. I'm honestly not the biggest fan of pure comedies. I prefer dark comedies, which I guess a lot of the jokes in this movie are actually darkly comedic, but I wasn't expecting the jokes to land as much as they did. I found this movie to actually be so funny, like genuinely so funny to me. Jamie manages to convince Amelia's mother, Lauren, and a teenager named Doug to help her, telling Lauren the truth about everything. Although Jamie manages to infiltrate a party hosted by Tiffany, she isn't able to stop her murder, using the trauma to bond with Pam. She infiltrates their group and convinces them to leave for the weekend, although this backfires and they end up at a cabin where Marissa was killed in the original timeline. As Jamie works to protect Marissa, Heather is murdered instead, changing the timeline. I actually found this whole sequence at the cabin to be really infuriating, and specifically where I think the writing went a little downhill. There were multiple instances where Jamie could have potentially stopped the killer from killing Heather but didn't, like, you could have done that, or you could have done that, and she could have survived. But again, I'm not going to hold them to that due to it being a high pressure situation and her maybe not thinking straight at the time. On Halloween night, the group reconvenes at the amusement park while Lauren works on turning a popular attraction into a makeshift time machine for Jamie to travel forward in time. In present day, Chris helps Amelia fix their time machine as they realize the timeline is changing. They lure the Sweet 16 killer into a haunted house where he attacks them, only to be impaled by future Sheriff Kara with a scythe. He is revealed to be Doug, who sought revenge on the group after the death of his girlfriend Trish. Marissa reveals that she, Tiffany, and Heather got Trish drunk one night and let her drive home alone, with her dying in an accident. Pam, however, was not present. As Jamie wonders why Pam received the note, a second killer appears and slits Marissa's throat. I actually really liked the haunted house sequence. At first I was like, what the hell is the plan here? But when I realized they were hiding amongst the haunted house props, I understood and was like, oh, okay. That makes sense. I'm not going to go too in depth with what I thought about the twist because I'm going to talk about it after the breakdown, but Marissa getting her throat slit before she could use the whistle was such a funny callback. The second killer chases after Jamie, killing Chris's father along the way. The two face off in the new time machine as it activates, and the killer is revealed to be Chris from the future. Doug was the original killer, but Chris murdered Pam and forged the note in order to generate more content for his podcast. The two fight and Jamie kicks him into the spinning machine. Upon returning to the present day, she finds that Pam is still alive. It was revealed that since Jamie's parents got together earlier than they had originally, she now has an older brother named Jamie, and her name is now Colette. Then the movie ends. There isn't really much that I want to talk about that's spoilery when it comes to my likes and dislikes besides 3 things regarding the story. The whole haunted house scene when it was revealed that there were 2 killers in this timeline, the one from the past and the present, honestly shocked the hell out of me, even though I didn't mention the possibility of there being 2 killers when I first watched it. Yet it still caught me way off guard because I didn't think that was actually the case. The killer reveal itself kinda shocked me as well, specifically the killer from the 80s timeline being Doug. I only didn't think he was the killer because he seemed way taller than the other characters, while the killer himself in costume didn't seem that much taller than his victims. So him being the killer kind of went completely over my head, but I just think that was a little continuity error. But the present day 2023 killer being the podcaster was so obvious, like blatantly obvious. The ending itself was sweet, very lighthearted, which I expected, but when young Pam got stabbed on the quantum drop, I kind of got nervous that she would have died in the 80s timeline, ultimately making it pointless for Jamie to have come there in the first place, which would have been extremely bleak. I love a bleak ending, but I feel like the ending they went with was perfect tonally in comparison to the rest of the movie. My favorite scene would have to be the whole quantum drop scene in the 3rd act. That whole scene was so fun. The camera work shined in that sequence in particular. The killer walking on the wall against gravity while Jamie and young Pam were struggling to get off the wall. It was just a perfect set piece for a finale. Loved it, of course. My least favorite scene would honestly have to be every scene with Randy. I found him to be so annoying, but I'm pretty sure that was the whole point. My favorite kill would have to be adult Pam's death. I would have said Doug being impaled by the scythe, but the whole sequence with adult Pam being attacked in her home on Halloween was suspenseful, and when she ultimately lost after putting up such a good fight, it was honestly so heartbreaking. Like, I hated that. My least favorite kill would have to be the podcaster's death. Him bursting into pink mist was pretty lackluster in my opinion. If you did enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe for more videos from me, and make sure to hit that notification bell so you'll be notified whenever I post a new video. Alright, horror movie lovers, I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out.